that's the big difference between this and JCPOA and the way Obama did it. Obama, they begged Iran for a deal, and we bombed Iran and then put in a blockade and then ran ships through and then have restarted when necessary to ensure that they come to the table for a great deal.
Okay. Look, it's just, again, these are just words, because until we see the terms, all we have is your characterization to go by. And listen, it is abundantly clear. The minute that you actually release the terms, I mean, you're just going to give ammunition to the tops of Mark Levin, for crying out loud. He will be opposed to this. Now, I will not be opposed to it, because I will say, get out of here no matter what you have to do. Whatever terms you have to agree to, we've got to do that, because we have suffered, and Pete Hegseth is, I don't think the words could even come out of his mouth, even though they're true, or anybody else in the administration. They're just not able to say it. But the fact is, this is an absolute strategic disaster and failure of epic proportions for the United States. The ramifications of this are going to reverberate for many years to come, and every reverberation will be worse for our interests than they were before. I'm just telling you right now that the administration and so many of these people in power and so many of these people who want to have power in the U.S. are going to lament the starting of this war for a long time, because the cost to us will be way more than the blood and treasure we've already lost, which is something that's always near and dear to my heart, and it's something that has made me angry from day one, and that I warned about before day one was going to be a foolish waste of American blood, and then we did it. That's bad and it's terrible. But there's going to be a lot worse for our interests going forward, and the loss of prestige, the loss of the fear of America, because they see that we have limits of power, even though we can't acknowledge it publicly. Everybody else sees that there are significant limits of power, and the conditions. This is so important here too. Hegseth here in that soundbite and in the others that I'm about to show you, he's going to try to make this paint that this, President Trump is this strong guy. He's out there doing great stuff, and he is compelling those Iranians to do stuff, etc. We already had a deal, a JCPOA, that some of the same language that we're using now was already in place in 2015 that we got out of. So the things that they're trying to negotiate now was already in an agreement in 2015. We screwed that up and threw it in the trash, and now that we're trying to get something allegedly better, but we'll never get something even as good as that, especially now. And the only reason why we're trying to get the Strait of Hormuz open is, because we started the damn war. Had we not started this war, then there would be no negotiations necessary to open something that wasn't closed. So all we're trying to do, and I think Secretary Rubio has made this absurd statement here lately, that now that we've limited our acknowledge or our terms and our objectives, to try and just go back to the way it was before. You see, we're actually trying to just undo all this damage and go back to what it was before, and then everything will be great. But let me tell you, folks, that ain't going to happen. We are never going to go back. Nobody is going to go back to the way it was before. Not the Iranians, not us, not the Gulf countries, not even Israel. Nothing is going to go back to the way it was on the 27th of February. Those days are gone, and they will never come back. And the only question is, and only time will answer this, how much worse will it get? But the fakery and the attempt to put lipstick on a pig by Hegseth continued on. Watch this.
I think your viewers need to remember, Project Freedom never stopped, and we've run 125 million barrels of oil through the straits, and Iran couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. How many ships from Iran have transited our blockade? Zero. We have controlled the straits this entire time.
Right,
this
you're going to negotiate with them to
immediately and gradually
reopen it.
I just have to ask this and wonder, and this is a legitimate statement, not a rhetorical one. Does Secretary Hegseth genuinely think that people are so stupid that they're going to believe that now? And I'm talking even about his supporters. Obviously, those like us who are willing to look at things as they are have just shaken our heads and just not condemnation, but just embarrassment for Secretary Hegseth to say stuff like that is so far off of the range here that we're in control of the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, if we're in control of the Strait of Hormuz, then why are we even talking about a negotiated settlement? If we crushed their military and militarily defeated them, which he has previously said, along with his boss, President Trump, then why would we even be talking with them? We would be going back to what President Trump said in the first week, which is unconditional surrender, or in his opening day. Remember that? We showed, I think, just last night. President Trump said the IRGC must lay down their arms or face certain death, only they didn't. We killed a lot of them, but not that many. I mean, remember, their active forces with the besiege and the IRGC and the regular army were somewhere around 900,000, and now they've mobilized a bunch more, and they're apparently somewhere, I mean, they claim somewhere in 10, 20 million. That's with just people signing up willing to help out or whatever, but it's a lot of people standing up to fight. And I think there's been like 3,500 killed or something like that. Not quite. All of them facing certain death. So obviously we've already been exposed as that just being absurd statement, no truth in it whatsoever, nor are there here. We're in control of the Strait of Hormuz, he says. Iran has got no ships out. That's obviously false. I mean, it's self-evident. I mean, there's like tanker tracker numbers, for crying out loud, by name, have been seen to go through. We even talked about interdicting some of them later on. So what are we interdicting if none of them got through? You see what I'm saying? And then the claim that we have gotten all this other 150 tankers, whatever that number was, President Trump said 100 million barrels of oil have gotten out. No evidence at all of that. There's not. I mean, if there is, then the same way that we have been able to track by name some of these other ships from the Iranian side that did get out, that was coordinated through Tehran with China and some other countries as well. It's self-evident. You can Google those. You can find the tanker numbers. These you can't. Google and say, what are the ships that equal this, whatever the number was. He said 150 ships here. Okay, fair enough. That's what you claim. Produce the evidence. Show us which ships went through, what day, where they went. Just that's all you got to do. But there won't be coming because that's fiction. Some got through, I'm sure. There have been some reports that some got through, but it's not a fraction of what he claims. And to keep telling people that we're in control, it just continues to undermine the credibility and the reputation of the Department of Defense. It continues to shred any reputation that Secretary Hegseth still has among whoever it may be. People aren't going to listen to us. Our adversaries aren't going to listen to us. Our allies aren't going to believe a word we say. And when you're trying to negotiate a deal and trying to convince the American people something that is self-evidently untrue, you're not going to sway them either. And you're going to end up losing those. Now, the line can be embarrassing on one hand, but it can also be harmful in another area. Now, one of the things we've been telling you about, and it's been all over the Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, Wall Street Journal, everybody's been talking about this for a long time. Intelligence sources have leaked that because of all the stuff that we did with Ukraine for 4.5 years, all the stuff we had done with Israel since 2023, and then now all the missiles that we have fired, offensive and defensive, since the war started here, plus what we did in 2025, that our inventories are substantially declined. That the amount of, especially the high-end, the JASSMs, the Tomahawk cruise missiles, the THAAD, the PAC-3 interceptors, all at critically low levels. That's self-evident. Larry Johnson has shown you just by the numbers what's been published since we even started building the PAC-3s especially. He just showed you mathematically how we've got to be at the bottom of the barrel. There's hardly any left. The manufacturing base we've tried to increase that, and it has increased, but anecdotally and incrementally, just a little bit percentage-wise. Because unless you go on a full wartime mobilization to where industry just throws caution to the wind and just does everything it can, and that will still take a couple of years to get there if we get to that point, which we haven't. That's the reality. It's stuff that you can count. It's stuff that you can see. It's stuff that can be produced, and it's the whole logic stream. Everything I just told you can be validated. Here is how Secretary Hegseth talks about that same issue.
We're supercharging our arsenal of freedom, building more, building faster, opening up the Pentagon, ripping through the Pentagon bureaucracy to force industry to move faster. So
but there
our stockpiles
there is
are
a crisis
strong,
with
and they will
those
only get
stockpiles
stronger
right
in the future.
now. There is a crisis with those stockpiles right now in private industry.
That is a manufactured story that the media wants to peddle.
Congress.
And ultimately, our stockpiles are are great, and they'll only get stronger because of the way this president has.
You
and
testified
if anything,
under oath that it would take years to rebuild those stockpiles.
It was the Biden administration that gave away munitions to the. You don't have to read back to me what I testified. I speculated some munitions take more time than others. We've got lots of them. We're building more than ever before. The Biden administration gave away hundreds of billions to Ukraine, and so President Trump had to refill, and he has, and we have in real time.
Really, we've refilled them in real time. We replaced all that we lost, even though you testified, which she reminded you, and you got aggravated about it. You said it would take years to reply. But yeah, forget about that. Forget what I said then. Just listen to what I said now. It's been refilled. That is a physical impossibility. It is a physical impossibility, and it is a ball-faced lie, categorically. Why does he want to keep doing this and shred even what minimal respect and credibility he has? There's none. I won't anymore believe anything he says. I cannot take a word he says at face value. And in fact, it's worse than that, because now the assumption is that he's lying. If he says anything positive, my first reaction is that he's lying, and I'm going to go and try and find some validation, some independent sources to confirm whether he's telling the truth or whether he's not. And when you know that we make around 600, 650, maybe PAC-3 interceptors per year, that's all we can produce. And then you know that we use probably several thousand in the first 40 days of this war. Do the math. Don't tell me that we're back to where we were, because that's a physical impossibility. We can't make them that fast, period. So it's a lot. And of course, that you can keep, some people are going to believe it just because they will believe every word that comes out of the administration, no matter how crazy it sounds, because they want to, because they don't want to believe the alternative. So they'll accept that. And he'll succeed at that to some degree. They'll hold on to some of their support. But listen to me. Listen to me. That is harmful to America, because let me tell you something. Iran is not fooled. Russia is not fooled. China is not fooled. They know exactly, they probably have better fidelity than I do with their intelligence sources, just how low our stockpiles really are. And so if it gets into a place where they want to get into a fight with us or reignite this one, they know what we can do and what we can't do. And listen to me, the biggest threat and risk for us is that, God help us if we get in any other conflicts anywhere else with somebody that has missile support, because all you've got to do, and I to this day have still been surprised that even Iran has not taken advantage of this and fired, massive swarms of drones. And we know they have significantly more drones than they do ballistic missiles, even that they did not during the active war period, just fired wave upon wave upon wave against these significant targets, knowing that we don't have the interceptors to knock them all down. Forget about the cost for the moment, just the availability of the ability to knock down that many. We just don't have it. Russia and China, of course, have thousands upon thousands of missiles and even tens of thousands of drones that they could bring to bear if we get into a fight with them. They're aware of that. So they're actually a little bit encouraged, and possibly even provoked isn't the right word, but they may be less restricted, less deterred to try something, thinking that, hey, because you have foolishly dwindled your stockpiles and your industrial capacity is about this much, and our industrial capacity is this much, if it gets down to it and they have to decide should they engage in a conventional war, then their likelihood to do it, the threshold for them doing it is way higher than it was, or the probability is higher. The threshold for doing it is the limitations are lower now because they see that we're vulnerable. And then instead of acknowledging it and doing what makes sense, because here's the thing, if you acknowledge it and you do what makes sense, you have to end this war no matter what. You have to walk away, you have to do whatever you have to do. But if you keep fighting it, then you're going to even harm yourself more and make us even greater vulnerability to other potential more powerful adversaries. And that's what's not happening here. And that's the real danger of these kinds of lies that work on a handful of people in America. But our adversaries are not fooled or stupid. That's just where we are. Let's take a look here about what some of the other things said. Okay, so that's some of the fundamentals that are going on right now. But let's take a look at the two other big actors, because there are a couple other things here that are even less likely to get there, even if we could, all these things I've mentioned so far, or if we get to a negotiated settlement, how some of the difficulties are going to be. But let me show you two of the bigger ones, and that is what the Iranian side is thinking about this. I told you what they said last night. Well, they said some more things today, and Iran insists that no deal, U.S. deal will last without guarantees for Lebanese security. I showed you that Sean Bell quote earlier where he was talking about, hey, there's a real problem with the Lebanese issue, because Israel has a very different view on this, and the Lebanese do as well. In fact, Gary, if you could go to the one that says Ghalibaf on Lebanon, you can pop that one up. This is their speaker of their house, and of course their chief negotiator. He said they, and I think he's referring to Israel, can never catch any part of the pillars of resistance alone and isolated. The valiant struggle of Lebanese brave fighters and the powerful diplomacy of the Islamic Republic of Iran guarantee the sovereignty and territorial integrity of dear Lebanon, and will dismantle the crazy antics of warmongering of the Israeli regime. Spin as we may spin. This is a translation from the Persian, so I'm not sure that last phrase doesn't translate directly. But that first part sure does, and that's exactly what we have been warning about, is that the Iranian side is saying, hey, listen, it's now Lebanon and Hezbollah and Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis down in Yemen, they're all one and the same. And now then we will fight for them. Remember, even before President Trump announced this signature coming up on Friday, the Iranian side had already, this is confirmed not just by Professor Morandi on our show last night, but also by Barak Ravid and Axios and several others. They're acknowledging Iran was ready to strike back against Israel because of their strike against Hezbollah in Lebanon. And they pulled it back because Trump said, all right, we'll sign something. We'll get something off the table and we'll hold them back. So for now, Iran said, all right, we won't retaliate for that one as long as we can get to the end. And Professor Morandi said the logic was pretty clear. He said, because if we had gone through with it, then Israel would have fired through and we'd just be going back and forth, and more people in Hezbollah would be killed. So he said it made sense to try this out. They don't have to trust anything. They just said, let's give it a shot to see if you're going to do it, because the missiles are still there. And if you don't make good on your word, they will still fly. Now, the problem is going to be, what is the Israeli side going to do? But there was one other here. If you can put what the Hezbollah folks said. This is a Hezbollah officials. This is Reuters here reporting. Hezbollah official told Reuters on Monday that the group has not carried out any operation since the announcement of the U.S. deal was made, and that its position on the ceasefire is linked to Israel's adherence to it. The official, who declined to be named, added that the Hezbollah rejects Israel's, quote, freedom of movement in Lebanon, and said that Iran delayed signing a deal with the U.S. to monitor Israel's adherence to the ceasefire in Lebanon. Hezbollah has not officially commented on the U.S. agreement. But the bottom line is, they say, at least up to this time, as we're on the air right now, they're saying, all right, we'll hold off and we won't attack Israel in Hezbollah. Hezbollah will not attack Israel in Lebanon unless they are attacked. So that is now going to put the onus back on Israel. And that is one of the biggest issues that we face here, and the biggest headwinds, because people in Israel are going crazy about Netanyahu, calling him a traitor, and he's surrendering to Trump. He's surrendering the needs of Israel. In fact, here's Ben Smotrich, of course, who's one of the most hawkish, along with Ben Gvir. Gary, if you can put that full screen up there. This is from Smotrich. I'm sorry, that's the TASM. That's the news agency there. That's coming up. I think, yeah, this is him right here. And I'm sorry, Garrett, the screen is too small. Can you read that for us?
Sure.
Thanks.
The agreement with Iran is bad for Israel and for the entire free world, period. The joint campaign had many achievements in weakening Iran, and they will not go to waste. We will have to continue the campaign to topple the regime ourselves, and in creative ways, and ensure that Iran will never have nuclear weapons. None of the candidates who see themselves as fit for the premiership would withstand even 10% of the pressure currently being applied to the Israeli government, and especially the one at its head. In Lebanon, we will be tested. This is our war, our fighters, and the immediate security of our northern residents. I will continue to act so that we continue to stand firm on ours and allow the IDF full freedom of action to continue pushing Hezbollah away.
So you see right there, I mean, there's Smotrich, who's in the Israeli government. He's one of the cabinet members. He still wants the freedom of action. And you just saw that just hours ago, today, the Hezbollah side said, we're not going to allow Israel the freedom of movement, the freedom of action that it wants to be able to do anything, and then stay silent. If Israel strikes us, we will strike back. And everything hinges on that. We told you all in all that these 14 points has been released by the Iranian side. Point number one was that the war has to end on all fronts, expressly meaning Lebanon. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, the mediator, expressly acknowledged Lebanon is included there. If Lebanon is not included, we don't even get to a signing on Friday.